Hello, everyone. I'm here to do an interview with a friend of mine who is into paleontology, and I've been friends with him for many years. Please introduce yourself.
Uh, Hi. I'm Robert Fonderson, and I'm currently a geology undergrad, specifically specializing in with currently concentrating in paleontology. So I'm currently going into my second year.
Interesting. So, how did you get into paleontology?
It kind of goes way back, and I'm sure you know the movie Jurassic Park,
Of
which
course, everybody
that's
does.
yes, and that movie's been dear to my heart for now 33 years. And along with that, I also grew up with Walking with Dinosaurs and Land Before Time, and so it just went from there.
Pretty much like me.
Oh,
That's everyone. Now, did you watch like Barney and stuff at the time? And
oh yes, I did have a Barney. I did have a Barney plush for sure. I did.
uh, same.
Hmm.
Um, So, were you also into video games?
Yes, I played lots of Jurassic Park games when I was young. I played Operation Genesis for the longest time until Jurassic World Evolution, at least the second one, and now I play that along with Prehistoric Kingdom. Those two games I play currently now.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I used to play Operation Genesis as well a lot back in the day. I'm trying to find my video game.
Oh,
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah. Did you
I see.
play Jurassic Park the game?
I did. It's been a few years since I last played it. I think the last time I played it was at least 2020. Was when I last played that game specifically.
Interesting. So, in your course, like in your geology, paleontology um college, like what are you going to study? Like are you going to study the animals, the environment, the atmosphere? Like what are you trying to study?
Well, I have found that yes, as typical when it comes to paleontology, the first thing that most people want to study is dinosaurs, and yes, I'm one of those people who did fall in that category and still do, as I found with Dinosauria is my best specialty, although maybe once in a while I may look at other vertebrates, as I found that I mostly read about vertebrate stuff, and ever since I at least joined the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology back in 2021. So be I may just go into Dinosauria generally, as specifically I'm not really that specific, because some days I may read about theropods, some other days I read about sauropods, depending who I'm talking to, like experts such as if I'm talking with, say, Thomas Holtz, I may have theropods on the brain, or if I'm talking with Dr. Brian Curtis, who is a sauropod specialist, I may read about sauropods, or if I'm talking to someone who's specialized in ceratopsians, I may have ceratopsians on the brain. So I kind of consider myself mainly a dinosauria generalist. So I may think about maybe science communication, where I can talk to kids and ask questions about anything that kids might have questions about.
Interesting. Now, are you going to make a paper someday?
I do look forward to that. I actually do remember I actually did take a course on Coursera about evolution, and I kind of made a paper back then at that time. It wasn't really a peer review per se, but it was just more so about it's more so about the evolution and how it works. So that was just it for a paper I did. Just examples of Well, examples of evolution, and I chose the dinosaur bird link for my topic.
Interesting. Um, so have you also thinking about studying like non-dinosaur animals such as like the Cenozoic mammals, marine reptiles, even like creatures that were from the before the dinosaurs, such as like the synapsids, like the Permian synapsids and etc.
Well, I've looked at vertebrates from other periods every once in a while because I may need a vacation from the Mesozoics. But if I find that maybe if I specialize in Dinosauria specifically, if I ever go specific, I may just study vertebrate. I might as well go into vertebrate paleontology generally overall. So I
Interesting.
could probably just do science communication about anything vertebrate across the whole geologic timescale.
Interesting. So you're pretty much like Darian Naish, like because he studies like everything tetrapods and vertebrates and stuff. So you're pretty much like him.
Well, I guess you could say that, or more so mainly the Dinosauria version of him
Yeah.
mainly.
Even though that he studies pretty much almost everything
Yes,
except for
yes.
bugs. But
Oh, yes, because those are invertebrates, and
yeah,
I know, I'm not a fan of bugs, but I'm aware we need them.
of course. What's your favorite dinosaur?
Well, I really don't. It's been years since I last did favorites, so these days, rather than just say what my favorite dinosaur is, I rather go by, what dinosaur is probably on my mind, depending on what's being talked about at the moment, or what's the big news, or who I'm talking to and what they specialize in. So, seeing that there's been recent news, I'm sure you've heard about this. I'm sure you've heard about what's been going on with Saurophaganax and Allosaurus.
Yeah, Allosaurus
Yes.
Anax.
So I have to say, seeing that with what's going on with Allosaurus and Saurophaganax, I'd have to say currently I've had Allosaurus on the brain.
Yeah, me too. Like when I was a kid, I believe I used to love Allosaurus a lot, but then like T Rex came, and that's why like I love T Rex. I think I loved more T Rex first, then Allosaurus, and then back to Tyrannosaurus this time permanently.
Well,
But
I like both of them, and I like all the theropods overall.
me too. I love theropods. They're always the most interesting because they're the biggest apex predators. Well, a lot of people say, which they are, at least some
Well,
of them. But
on
yeah,
land at least.
yeah, on land, of course. Yeah, of course. I'm specifically talking about on land, of course. Yeah. Um, are you excited for the new documentaries that are coming out, like Walking with Dinosaurs 2, Forgotten Bloodline, and oh, what's the other documentary? Ancient, no, not Ancient Earth, Earth Survival or something. I think that's what it's called.
Survival. Well, out of all of those, I have to say I'm excited most about Walking with Dinosaurs, the second season or revival. I don't know what to call it, but I consider it both. As Walking with Dinosaurs is one of my main documentaries, along with Prehistoric Planet. Those are my two main sources of paleontology as far as the real science goes. Whereas with the Jurassic movies, that was just the fictional side. And so I am excited for the new season of Walking with Dinosaurs, as I was with Prehistoric Planet, which I still watch. And because overall, when it comes to documentaries, BBC is my preference.
Yeah, when it comes for like BBC, it's like most. I want to say like most of the time, BBC always has really good dinosaur documentaries. It used to be Discovery Channel at times, but BBC kind of took over the spotlight. Sometimes even National Geographic as well, but but BBC it just is usually the best bet, in my opinion.
Mm. Now, at the time of Discovery, I used to think it was actually in competition with National Geographic.
They still don't like each other. Both Nat Geo and
Mm.
Discovery, they still don't like each other. But yeah, it's just that like when it comes to animal documentaries, it's usually Discover. I mean, it's usually Nat Geo, and then when it comes to dinosaurs, it's BBC or Discovery, mostly BBC.
Hmm. I guess it's interesting because I don't really remember much dinosaur or prehistoric stuff back in the days of Discovery, because in the days of Discovery, all I remember watching was just Animal Planet.
Well, in the Discovery Channel, there was Dinosaur Planet.
Oh, yes, of course.
Oh, nice Rex tooth too,
Hmm.
by the way,
Thank you.
and nice shirt as well. There was also the Discovery Channel version of Walking with Dinosaurs. When dinosaurs
Hmm.
roamed America,
Oh,
Paleo World. Um,
hmm.
there was actually a lot of Discovery Channel documentaries back in
Hmm.
the day
Hmm.
when Discovery was at its peak. Even Walking
Oh,
with Beasts as well.
yes.
Although it was called Prehistoric Beast or Walking with Prehistoric Beasts, which I kind of
Hmm.
grew up with the name, but whatever.
Oh, so I guess either I missed out or probably BBC was also just my personal preference back then too.
Yeah. I mean, then again, BBC and Discovery kind of work with each other, and I think they still do, but yeah,
Despite being independents or also working from different countries and different sides of the world.
yeah. Donna Diego just had a question. What is the most underrated uh, documentary?
Well, in my opinion, I have to say probably Planet Dinosaur, which is also BBC. I used to watch that myself until Prehistoric Planet came along, and despite its reviews, I actually thought it was pretty decent.
Hmm. Yeah. At the time, Planet Dinosaur was one of the best documentaries ever. Like the CGI
Hmm.
was pretty good and stuff like that, and the environment, atmosphere, etc.
Yes. And the models,
And the models. And
especially
the models.
the Carcharodontosaurus, I really liked, and the Chasmosaurus, and Splatosaurus, I liked those models.
Yeah, the Carcharodontosaurus was actually one of the best, if not probably the best models of the entire documentary series. Um, really love the coloring. Um, although there was some people that think that it had like some quote unquote awesome broism or whatever.
Mm.
It didn't. I don't think they didn't made it too awesome broish, but that's just me.
You have to you have to define broism for me.
Okay, the definition of awesome bro is like animals fighting each other all the time, killing one another, making them as rage monsters and etc. Like for example, Jurassic Fight Club and Monsters Resurrected, they treated the dinosaurs, well, theropod dinosaurs, as these rage, cold-blooded rage monsters.
Oh yeah, now I see what you mean, and actually, despite how I'm sure as kids we thought as kids I'm sure we thought that was cool, and which
Yeah,
that was actually one of the reasons why I always watched when I watched the Land Before Time movies. I was always excited when the sharp teeth arrive and then the dinosaurs fight the sharp teeth, because those were the only parts of the Land
yeah.
Before Time I remember watching over and over again.
Yeah, but that's
Oh,
just pop culture. But when you're doing a
yeah.
documentary, that's not education.
Well, I'd have to say maybe it kind of is, because despite how yes, I've actually I remember watching another video on YouTube called From Science on the Street, where many paleontologists were actually talking about this issue in the Jurassic series, where they've had T-Rex go up against Spinosaurus and Giganotosaurus, and they say that in real life, all these fights, they would happen a very small period of the time because not even apex predators like to get hurt or injured. And I actually do see that. I actually do understand that, and it's actually happening with does happen with wildlife today because despite carnivores being depicted as killing and eating 24 24/7, they actually just have more to life than just eating.
Exactly. That's why I like Walking with Dinosaurs. They executed the documentary very well because they treated dinosaurs as animals because
Mhm,
they sleep, they drink,
mhm,
they walk,
mhm,
they they roar, even though dinosaurs
mhm.
don't roar.
Well, by roar, we might have to think about what we mean by roar because roar can have a lot of different meanings depending on the type of animal that makes the sound.
That
Because
is true,
so,
but but they didn't have like bird and crocodilian sounds at the time.
mm,
They used mammalian
mm,
sounds and stuff like that. But anyways,
mm,
yeah, they
mm,
treated them as like animals, you know? But
well,
instead, like
yes,
documentaries back
mm,
then,
mm,
like from the late 2000s, like I said, with Jurassic Fight Club and Monsters
mhm,
Resurrected,
mm,
they treated them as like just rage monsters that just want to fight,
mm,
fight, 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 fight. There's other
mm.
mean to that.
Yes, I do see where you're coming from there,
You know?
and not to
And
mention on the opposite side, they also treat. I'm not sure. I forget if Jurassic Fight Club and Monster Resurrected did this with herbivores, but I think it's also a note that most herbivores are actually treated as just pushovers, especially the hadrosaurs, and that
yeah,
they're just depicted as defenseless cows and they're less dangerous. Whereas in real life, I've seen lots of herbivores that are actually even more dangerous than carnivores that cause even more human deaths than carnivores do every year.
yeah, exactly. Look at hippos and elephants.
And buffalo,
Yeah, in Cape Buffalo, they kill more people than lions do.
or hyenas, cheetahs, and leopards. All the herbivores kill more humans than all the predators put together.
Exactly. Um, And believe it or not, I used to be one of those people that
Mm,
used to downplay on most of the herbivores,
mm,
like hadrosaurs, for
mm,
example,
mm,
saying that they're pushovers, they're
mm,
defenseless, they're cowards. But no, hadrosaurs are
mm,
very powerful than you think. They use
mm,
like for example, they have really long tails as a
mm,
defense mechanism. They could
mm,
probably row up on two legs to scare
mm,
away a predator. They could
mm,
um maybe flash color to scare away a
mm,
predator, as a
mm,
defense mechanism. These are the things that herbivores need to
mm.
survive when they're facing against a predator.
It's precisely. Although in the case of hadrosaurs, I usually think that more they use their weight and their huge bodies to probably they could ram over a tyrannosaur hunting them. Like with
Yeah,
in Monosaurus, I kind of imagine that it could probably body slam an adult Tyrannosaurus, seeing that I know there are some Monosaurus species that could grow even larger than an adult T-Rex, that's as big as Sue or Scotty.
exactly. It may be rare, but it does happen. It's just that usually they would surrender most of the time, but if they were cornered, they would have no choice but to fight back.
Yes, unless there was some circumstance where it was either injured or sick or weak in any other way.
Yeah,
Otherwise, the Tyrannosaurs would go after mostly just the juveniles.
of course. Mostly after the juveniles, and because juveniles are easy targets than the
Mm,
adult hadrosaurs and
mm.
ceratopsians as well. Um,
Yes.
besides that necklace
Mhm.
tooth, do you have more fossil replicas?
Well, actually, this is just the pretty much the only one I have right now.
Huh.
I haven't really worked on collecting much. I'm more of a quantity over the quality type.
What does that mean?
Well, usually when it comes to collecting, I usually try to find stuff that may have good quality, which it's kind of which may be rare, and so you don't find much stuff with good quality. But that would be to me that'd be better than finding a lot of things that may not have the best quality.
Interesting. And what's that behind you? Because at first I
Mhm.
thought it was a saber-toothed skull. I don't know why.
These two?
Yeah.
Oh well, actually, it's just two action figures or models by the Beasts of the from Beasts of the Mesozoic. I don't know if you've heard of that company.
Yeah, I heard of it.
It's I bought a T-Rex and Triceratops.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
Mm,
Because like at first I thought it was a saber-tooth skull, and then
mm.
like I look closely and I'm like, "Oh, is that the Carnotaurus and Aladar fight figures?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, no."
Uh, no, it's the just the Triceratops,
And the
which
Rex.
yes,
Yeah.
it's just the Triceratops.
So, do you have like other figures besides those two?
Those are the only two I have currently. I have some books as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I actually have one of the well, Beast of the Cenozoic figures. I actually have the Black Smilodon.
wow.
Um, Unfortunately, its leg came apart, but I'm
Ooh.
getting replaced with a new one.
Oh,
Hopefully,
good. Did you try gluing it back?
no, because apparently you can't glue these back because you'll F them up.
Mhm.
Because I actually wanted to make like a stretching pose. That's
Oh,
why like I wanted to do it because like this side you can stretch.
hmm.
Obviously, this you can't.
Oh, how
Yeah.
much did that cost?
64.99.
Oh, well, that's not too bad for a model of that size.
Yeah. But it is what it is.
Mhm.
Hopefully tomorrow because I actually did email them and they will get me another arm. They actually have a lot of people actually have problems with this figure too. So it's not just me. I'm not the only one who has an issue with the Smilodon figure.
Oh, well, thankfully, with my Rex and Trike, I haven't had too many issues.
Yeah, thank God.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, let's see here. Um, so do you oh yeah, I already just so do you go to fossil sites?
Also, sites. Well, I haven't really. I have yet to go to the first fossil site. Although I've may have gone to maybe a fossil thing or two. I don't know if Jurassic Quest counts. If you've heard of that.
I think I had, but is it like one of those like animatronic, unrealistic dinosaurs?
Well, yes. Although, well, yeah, they're animatronic. I'm not sure if maybe they may not be realistic or if I'd call them really accurate, but they
Yeah,
did their
I'm not
best.
really impressed with
Mm,
them. I don't know why, because I guess
mm,
they're not accurate looking, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I suppose. And I have been to the Smithsonian a couple times,
Oh, that's
and it's very
cool.
much that's the only museum I've actually ever been to.
Yeah,
Mm,
there's a museum coming out
mm,
where I'm from. It's called the Rowan Elliman Fossil Park, right next to Lowe's. Well, actually behind Lowe's, where I'm from, and it's gonna have like a fossil site and a museum, and it's gonna have like in everything in the south coast of the
mm,
museum.
mm.
So it's
Interesting.
yeah, and it's New Jersey as well. And since I live in New Jersey, so it's gonna
Mm.
be like part of Appalachia.
Wow. So
Yeah,
when is it gonna open?
March something. I don't know when, but I know it's coming
Mm,
out in March something.
mm.
Man, the models are beautiful. Like I can't
Mm.
spoil it,
Uh-huh.
but the models are awesome.
Well, it sounds like it. You'll have to take pictures and share and post when it opens.
Yeah, I only shared one picture, and that's an Acrocanthosaurus and an
Mm.
Astrodon that are fighting one another. But they're juveniles.
Mm.
Obviously,
Yeah.
it's impossible to like model the adult version model, so that's why they're choosing juveniles.
Well, yes, especially with the Titanosaur material that's out there, it's been difficult to see just how big those sauropods could really get.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of which, of sauropods, I even met Dr. Kenneth Lacavera a couple of times. I don't know if you ever
Ah,
heard of him or not.
I may have.
He's the guy who found Dreadnoughtus.
Oh, yes, yes. Now it's come back to me. I remember. I've read about him, and whenever I read about Dreadnoughtus.
Yeah, means with means with fears nothing because
Exactly.
Dreadnoughtus is the coolest name in the
Yeah.
fossil record.
Well, I think Argentinosaurus is almost just as cool as Dreadnoughtus.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Argentinosaurus is a cool name. It's just fears nothing, which yeah, it's pretty damn cool.
So, I mean, I assume all the Titanosaurs feared nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
All of them fear nothing because they're so big and massive and
Yes. And not even the largest Carcharodontosaurs that lived with them could bring an adult down unless they were in a group.
yeah, even a Rex too, because Tyrannosaurus lived alongside Alamosaurus, which is another
Yes.
large titanosaur in
Yes.
well, probably the largest land animal in North America.
Yeah, and probably I guess the only late Cretaceous sauropod in North America. Although I have yet to hear if T-Rex actually did hunt Alamosaurus, because as far as I've heard, the most findings of T-Rex I found is mostly of them feeding just on Triceratops and Monosaurus, in which we all know that T-Rex was more built for armored prey rather than sauropods, because I do remember reading somewhere that it may be difficult for the way a T-Rex's jaw and teeth are built for it to bring down and bite into a sauropod, compared to the teeth and jaws of Giganotosaurus, Mapusaurus, and Carcharodontosaurus.
Yeah, that is a issue as well. I also heard rumors that Tyrannosaurus is actually, well, it is a descendant to the Asian tyrannosaurs more than the North American relatives. So actually Thomas Carr even said that Tarbosaurus migrated to North America and evolved into Rex and outcompeted Albertosaurus and took over the spotlight.
Oh, well, that's kind of news to me, because when it comes to the descendants of Tyrannosaurs, I heard that Dasplatosaurus was actually came from T-Rex. And when it comes to Tarbosaurus and T-Rex, I am firm that the two are separate from each other based on their environments and the prey that they lived alongside.
Yeah, that's a debate though. Like it's debate going back and forth because on one hand it came from Daspletosaurus, but on the other hand it's an Asian Tyrannos. It came from the Asian Tyrannosaurs such as Zutane tyrannus, Tarbosaurus, and Tarbosaurus moncriensis, of course, and of course Rex. But who
Oh,
knows?
well, there are only a few of us who do, and I do remember when I've talked with Thomas Holtz about this many times, if you know him,
Yeah.
and I think from most conversations I've had with him, he tends to believe that both Rex and Tarbo are also sister genre from each other. Because again, the environments they lived in and the prey they lived alongside, that's more than enough for me to be satisfied that they're different rather than the same.
Yeah. But then again, North America and Asia were connected. There was a land bridge, but who
Hmm.
knows?
Yes. that also reminds me, there was a T-Rex documentary I watched that covered that. I think it's called T-Rex: An Epic Journey. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
heard of that.
that's another of the awesome bro documentaries. They even said that the narrator even said that Triceratops was found in Asia. I'm like, I mean, not Asia, Europe. I'm like,
Well,
Triceratops was never found in Europe.
no ceratopsians were ever found in Europe or even Asia, until there was word on Sinoceratops, which was pretty much one of the few ceratopsians that was found in Asia.
Don't forget about
Hmm.
Proceratops.
Oh, oh, right. Well, I said one of the few.
Oh,
This
yeah,
was-
that's right. That's right. Um,
Although I think when it comes to the ceratopsians, both in North America and Asia, people just tend to think of the big guys rather than just the little guys along with the big guys.
yeah. Um, what are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on like most paleo artists that make all dinosaurs have feathers?
I actually do stand for that, and yes, I actually do believe that most dinosaurs did have feathers. It's mainly the Silurian theropods, such as the dromaeosaurs and ornithomimids, and some tyrannosaurs and their relatives. So it's mainly the Silurosaurs that have feathers. I've seen
Yeah,
some feathers on sauropods, which I'm skeptical about, but that's not to say that's out of the picture because that may change someday. But for now, it's just mainly the Silurians that sport feathers. As
exactly.
birds, as even as we all know, the birds have feathers, so it makes sense for to give Silurosaur feathers. And I know I myself do paleo art myself, and I do use that for
Oh,
science
really?
communication.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it's like when we're doing feathered dinosaurs, we need to be more specific on which dinosaurs had feathers and which ones didn't have feathers. Like, for example, you can't just put feathers on a Pachyrhinosaurus, for example, because there's no evidence.
Uh, yes, although I've seen some feathering on ceratopsians, mainly the smaller ones, such as Psittacosaurus has
Yes.
had some feathering.
Yeah.
And with Pachyrhinosaur, I have to say, maybe, I've seen some depictions of at least the Alaskan specimen of species of Pachyrhinosaurus with fur or some kind of some kind of covering.
Yeah. The only thing is that Alaska was pretty warm back then. It wasn't like cold, cold like the Ice Age or modern Alaska, but it was like pretty warm. It probably may have migrated into like warmer pastures, since ceratopsians, most of them did migrated, um, and Pachyrhinosaurs probably may have had a layer of fat or blubber to keep it warm. Um,
I guess that would be more fitting as opposed to the feathered Nanusaurus, which it did live
yeah,
alongside.
yeah, and probably maybe Nanuqsaurus probably may have followed the herds of Pachyrhinosaurs, like most predators
So,
would do today. Um, yeah, and also like with sauropods having feathers, it's like since the ancestors had them, and this also includes with ceratopsians as well. Since the ancestors have them, that doesn't mean they had them. It's like evolution evolved at as they evolved as they get bigger and stronger. You know.
right, and if you grow, and usually in most cases of evolution, when it comes to size, if you get larger, you get the less covering you get.
Yeah.
Because especially when the case of T-Rex, which has been debated as whether if an adult would have feathers, in which Usually, if it comes to an adult, a full-grown adult, I might say that to a degree it did, but not to a full degree, as a juvenile would probably be just as fully feathered as a chicken.
Yeah, like
Mm.
if it had them, hypothetically, it would be like this.
Yes, and it would be just all alongside an adult's back, rather than
Yeah,
all just across the whole body.
yeah, it's like you would see it, but you would barely see it. Just like with Prehistoric Planet, because it's like you don't realize that, oh shit,
Mhm.
like it has feathering. Well, it's scaly skin, but it's like when you look very closely, it's like, oh shit, they did filaments on
Yeah.
it.
So
Yeah,
it's basically just little wires of fuzz rather than just huge huge coverings of fuzz.
yeah, because it's a big animal and it could overheat. Even though that, yes, feathering and hair are completely different, but when you're talking about an animal that's like several tons,
Mhm.
why would it even have feathers to begin with? Like
Yes,
big loaded.
yes. Although there is also the large more herbivorous theropod. There's Xenosaurus, and there's also Deinosuchus. Those ones are pretty very T-Rex size, and they're often depicted with full coverings.
Oh, you said Deinosuchus,
Yes, yes, no,
Dinocyrus.
Dinocyrus, yes.
Yeah,
Dinocyrus, and there is Xenosaurus.
yeah, that is the problem though. But I guess that since ornithomimids are more bird-like, maybe maybe even like Dinocyrus may have had a lot them more or something, or maybe Dinocyrus, since it was um more semi-aquatic, possibly maybe the reason why it probably had a load of feathers is because of the water. Who knows? But and this probably, well, but with Therizinosaurus, we don't know why, but yeah.
Well, I guess maybe because despite their size, they don't weigh as much as an adult T-Rex.
That is true because after all, Deinocheirus and Therizinosaurus are like 5 tons, 5 to 6 tons. A Rex is like 7 to 8 tons. Large specimens can go up to like 9 to 10.
Yes, I think that's also because it did have a heavier skull thanks to the fused nasal bones along its snout.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts? Oh yeah. Um. So, are you excited for Forgotten Bloodline?
I haven't heard too much about that. I've may have heard about it at one point, but I haven't heard anything ever since. But if it's still coming, I might give it a go.
Yeah, Forgotten Bloodline is about the Miocene animals, so like Daeodon, aka Dinohyus,
Mm,
the giant Entelodon.
mm,
It's gonna be there, and I'm actually
mm,
super hyped for it
mm.
because I love Entelodons.
Is it gonna be is it gonna be on TV or
I
what?
think it's gonna be it. It's
Mm,
gonna. I think it's gonna have it on their YouTube channel. Nigel Marlin is going to be the
mm,
narrator of the documentary series, which that's
mm,
actually very exciting.
Well, if anyone ever posts it, I might give it a go.
Yeah,
Or if somebody shares.
yeah,
Yes. I see someone's asking what
yeah. What
my
is your
favorite.
favorite episode of Prehistoric Planet?
When it comes to the show, I might actually have two favorite episodes and
Oh, interesting.
maybe three, but mainly I would say yes. I did like the forest one. That was because I did like the forest one. I think that was the third episode of season one, and that was the one where well, actually the wait that's freshwater. I like the freshwater of season one where it first shows the velociraptors hunting the pterosaurs and later the Rex feeding on Triceratops, and then the Rex is mating, so I'd say that's one of my favorites of season one. And season two, I'd have to say, yes, I like the Swamps episode where they did show the Pachycephalosaurus headbutting, which I'm sure we all go for, even though some may say that they rather headbutted on their flanks and sides rather than just straight head on. And then
Yeah.
later it did show the Hell Creek with T-Rex and Admonosaurus and Triceratops, and I did like the ending with the T-Rex hunting Admonosaurus. So I considered the Swamps episode a classic Hell Creek episode.
Yeah, I love that episode too. I also love the desert episode. Mostly, I actually love season two more than season one because of the action, and it had more interesting story and facts. Like, for example, um, it had more interesting facts about Asdark pterosaurs being more terrestrial hunters than fish eaters like other pterosaurs would, and also T-Rex having good binocular vision at night, which it is possible because the only archosaurs that we know that hunt at night are crocodilians and owls. And yeah, the Pachycephalosaurus facts was actually pretty correct as well because they could have used their heads as a defense mechanism and a mating display as well. So it was really a good, interesting facts and episodes as well.
Well, you believe that you believe they couldn't use their heads for defense?
They would use their
Yes.
heads as a defense. My mistake. They would use both the heads as a defense mechanism against their own kind and predators, and a defense and not a defense, and for a mating display.
Yes, I still stand firm on that.
Yeah.
Though, yes, and I don't know if you heard about. I don't know if you've heard about this about Pachycephalosaurus, but I did hear there was one paper that did talk about the possibility that the Pachycephalosaurus could also fight with their feet like kangaroos.
I heard about that, but I find it hard to believe because how much does I think it weighs like what, a ton? So
Maybe because I know compared to Lost World, it may be a bit bigger than depicted in the Lost World.
well, if that's true, then
because I was skeptical too when I first read the paper because I don't really know what it would be like if a dinosaur could could stand on its tail like a kangaroo could.
I find it very hard to believe.
Yes, I have a feeling that paper has gotten more criticism than credit.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I last heard it, so I assumed the paper had been discredited.
Yeah, it's fake. Yeah, it's just like with the Tyrannosaurus moncriensis. I mean not moncriensis, the Tyrannosaurus virgina and imperdator. That paper's fake.
Well, yes, but Macronensis is real now. But it's real.
Yeah, at first I thought it was fake because it's like, oh boy, here we go again. Here we go with another Tyrannosaurus subspecies, and no, this time this is correct. So
Yes,
T. moncriensis, it does exist.
Yes, but in a different region. It's a separate region. It's not in Hell Creek, and it's slightly older.
Yeah, and slightly less heavier than an average size Rex. And speaking of which, of the papers of 2024, what are your thoughts on the saber-tooth cub? That was pretty exciting.
Yes, when I found that very interesting. That was almost similar to the story of how a mammoth calf was also found. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
Yeah, there's been like a lot of frozen young baby animals and some adults occasionally, but you see like a lot of baby frozen animals in Siberia. Like you see cave bear cubs frozen, cave lion cubs that are frozen, young horse. There was a young horse that was frozen actually. Um,
So it's mainly Cenozoic mammals that get easily frozen.
yeah, because it's
Nice.
Pleistocene era, and yeah, for the very first time, a distinct member of the cat family that's that's been found, Homotherium, and that's awesome.
Ah,
Since Machaerodonts are not in the Pantheron family or in the Felid category, they're still cats, but they're not in
yes,
that family. If that makes
yes,
sense.
yes. I've heard of that because despite the saber-toothed tiger being called a tiger, it's no way related to tigers today, or even lions, but they're all still felines.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
I hate when people say saber-tooth tiger. It's like,
Yes.
It's not a
Well,
tiger.
I mean, I don't think they say that anymore. They used to
Most
say it
people,
then.
I mean, like the average person would say it, but like us,
Mhm.
we know.
Yes, and we just say Smilodon now.
Yeah, we say Smilodon, Sabertooth, Sabercat, Sabertooth cat, whatever. And Homotherium, it's like they call it as scimitar tooth cat. And yeah, Homotherium is like one of the most interesting cats because it was found like a lot of places, a lot of regions, North America, Europe, Asia, and even Africa.
Well, I have yet to hear about Africa, but that would be interesting.
Yeah, apparently it lived with our hominid ancestors as well, just like Dinophilus and Megatherion, which is pretty cool.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, but also was uh, a young mammoth, well, a young elephant killer
Hmm.
as well. Depending on what region, though, like in Africa, North America, it hunted the young mammoths and mastodons and Dinotherium.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
yeah, and even Siberia as well. Um,
Oh.
what's your favorite paper of this year? I mean, of not this year, well, 2024.
2024. Well, I'd have to say that rather than do favorites, I go by what I find the most memorable or what the most interesting is. So I'm gonna have to say right now, I do like the snap the Sora Owl paper, and I did like reading the Tyrannosaurus macroceros paper,
Yeah,
and and I try to see if there's another question about my favorite Spinosaurus design. Well, I'm gonna have to say, yes, when I saw Jurassic Park 3, I did like that Spinosaurus design. It was decent at the time, as at least with the Park trilogy, they did also try to depict the dinosaurs as animals rather than monsters at the time, and I do give them credit for trying, even though yes, they weren't really accurate at the time, but they
of
did
course.
try, especially with Jack Horner as consultant, even though he may not be that likable, but he was better than nobody. But I kind of like him, and I have yet to meet him. And in
Yeah, even though
movies,
that he doesn't like T Rex.
well, yes, I remember his scavenger theory, and he actually did admit at one point that he admit that his theory was flawed and that he was wrong. And I know some people may not have heard that, but I did hear him say it. I don't know what his exact words were when he admitted that he was wrong, but I do remember reading about it, about him confessing.
Yeah, and also like I don't know if you ever knew of this, but he came up with the idea of ceratopsians and Pachycephalosaurus headgear being fragile, not being useless in combat. I'm like,
not being useless. You mean not being useful in combat? Well, I've heard about him trying to lump Triceratops and Torosaurus, and then Pachycephalosaurus, and with Stygimoloch and Draco Rex. I kind of thought the uselessness of frill and horns would be for other ceratopsians.
Yeah, but it's like if you're supposed to fend for yourself against a T-Rex, how are you supposed to fend for yourself?
Yes, and there's actually been evidence where both an adult T-Rex did face an adult Triceratops, because there are pathologies in both T-Rex and Triceratops, and
Yeah,
those horn and even the horns on Triceratops have shown damage that's attribute to T-Rex. So it's been proof that the horns were effective for both defense and display.
yeah, it could be both. Same with
Mhm,
Pachycephalosaurus. Like
mhm,
just because that
mhm,
the horns are hollow, that doesn't
mhm,
mean that they're fragile or anything like
mhm,
that. Like every animal with a big headgear
mhm,
has a defense
mhm.
mechanism.
Yes, I actually heard that the horns were actually solid bone instead of hollow. Actually solid.
Really, I
Mhm,
there's been a lot
mhm,
of weird debates,
yes,
saying that their
mhm,
horns are hollow and
mhm.
who knows.
Because I do remember there was somebody I remember somebody saying, or I do remember another paleontologist from Museum of the Rockies, Lee Hall. I'm not sure if you know him.
Name sounds
He's
familiar.
Yes, I do remember in one of his videos he said that horns of Triceratops, they're solid bones, so they're part of the skeleton. So, like if a Triceratops lost a horn, it would lose part of a bone, and we all know bones. We all know bones are quite hard. Are actually quite hard.
Yeah, so I guess that my proven is wrong, that their horns are not hollow, they're very pure solid bone.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
as I predicted years ago, but
Mhm.
then someone told me that they're fragile. I mean they're hollow, but whatever. It is what it is. So
Mhm.
um so what are your thoughts on like weird weird articles saying that megalodon exists or whatever.
Uh, yeah, I've heard that more than once, and all I could say is, yeah, I've never seen one myself. So if there's no shark that's as big as a blue whale, I'd say megalodon is gone. And I think it
Exactly.
should also be noted that despite its resemblance to the great white shark, they are far from related.
Yeah, they're not related at all. They're more closely related to mako sharks than great whites.
Yes, the great white and megalodon, they may serve as a good example convert convergent evolution at
Yeah,
most.
yeah. Not to mention, like, since megalodon was a big animal, the waters would be really cold and it would not adapt very well since it's big.
Yes, that's another point there. Compared to the oceans today, which are much warmer than they were back then.
Yeah, and not to mention competition with killer whales, they would outcompete megalodon without a problem because killer whales are super, super smart.
Yes, and they're even shark eaters. They even kill great white sharks.
Yeah, and they've been known to flip over them and drown them.
Yes, because it used to be thought that great whites were the ultimate predator, although in a way they're still the apex predators.
Yeah, by their own right, but it's like the
Mm.
killer whale took over.
Yes, and they either took over or it's just new competition for the great whites.
Yeah.
I have yet to hear orcas compete with bulls, which I've heard bulls are are more dangerous than great whites.
Oh, you mean like bulls?
The bull
I see.
sharks. Bull
Oh, bull
shark.
sharks. Oh, I thought you
Yes.
were talking about like actual bulls.
No, I meant
I
the bull. I meant the bull shark. I
I,
meant
I see. My bad. My bad.
the
Uh, yeah, bull sharks and tiger sharks are the most aggressive sharks because bull
yes.
sharks have a lot of testosterone,
Yes.
and tiger sharks are just mean.
I have yet to hear orcas either kill or compete with them.
I mean, judging by size, I mean maybe killer whales would compete with it, would probably eat them as well. Who
Hmm.
knows of
Uh,
that? Um, Someone says, "Have you seen Disney Dinosaur?"
oh, yes, I have. I don't know how many years it's been since I last saw that movie, but but it has been memorable. It's probably one of the few Disney movies I find memorable now.
Yeah, me too. One of
Mhm.
my childhood memories.
Yes. I do remember the oversized Carnotaurus
Yeah,
and
yeah, because
well,
originally they were supposed to do a Rex, and then they decided an Albertosaurus,
mhm.
but it was like too much similar to T Rex. But then they did Carnotaurus.
Which I think at the time did appear similar to T-Rex too, and it was kind of in a mix with many other kind of dinosaurs from all around the world, such as Iguanodon from Europe, while Carnotaurus was in South America.
Of course, and Styracosaurus,
Mm,
Brachys, uh, Brach. I don't know why I'm saying Brachylophosaurus,
mm,
Brachiosaurus. God damn,
yes.
can't talk.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I hope that Disney Dinosaur comes back. I really
mm,
do because
mm,
like it
yes.
was like a really big success movie. Like they had like a lot of merchandise back then. I don't know if you saw them a
I
lot.
did, yeah, I did, but I was collecting. I was mostly collecting Jurassic stuff more than dinosaur stuff.
Yeah,
Mm,
me, I
mm.
did both. But
If
nowadays I just collect scientifically accurate figures. I don't need the Jurassic franchise figures.
Yes, likewise here.
Yeah, it's like as we get older, we realize that the
Mm,
Jurassic franchise
mm.
is kind of a waste of our time. I mean, then again,
Well,
it really
well,
depends, really.
I
But
wouldn't really quite say a complete waste because again there was some paleontological influence even within the movie universe, and again with Jack Horner as consultant for the first five movies, and then Steve Roche taking over for Dominion, and I do believe he's taking over for Rebirth this year. So at least there were some paleontological consultants for the movie.
yeah,
So
and I will give chances. Like I do give movies chances.
Mhm.
It's just that like Dominion was garbage.
Well, I understand. I do understand where people come from that, but me personally, I work around it along with the previous two world movies.
Interesting. I'm
Mm,
shocked.
mm.
But yeah. What are your thoughts on 65?
65. I've seen the trailer, but I have yet to see the movie itself.
I saw it in
Mm.
theaters like back in 2022. Oh boy, it was garbage.
I have a reason why I stick to at least the first at least at least the first six Jurassic movies, both the Park trilogy and the World trilogy, and I've cut back on keeping up with the franchise. But I may still see Rebirth, and I may watch Chaos Theory, but I won't really keep them around. I'll still just stick to just the first six movies.
Yeah, so you're pretty much like almost old school.
Pretty much, although
Yeah. But do you
well,
do
when it
like some of
comes
the new ones though?
like when it comes to the fictional science, I'm pretty much more old school, but when it comes to real science, I'm both old school and new school, as I still keep up with science today, and I still look back on the
Yeah.
science done back then, in which I guess with Hollywood and Universal, they chose not to keep up with science. But hey, that's their choice. What they want to do with the Jurassic franchise, whether they want to keep up with science or not, that's up to them.
Yeah, that is true. Um, let's see here. Have you played a Jurassic World Evolution 2? If you did, which is your favorite DLC?
Oh yes, I still play it. I still play it today, and out of all the DLCs that came out for that game, I might go with probably probably one of the ones with the feathered dinosaurs, specifically the one with Utahraptor. I did like their Utahraptor design.
Yeah, me too. I really
Hmm.
love it too. I was actually gonna say the Utah Raptor as well, even though that I haven't played Jurassic World Evolution 2, and I had played one time of the first game, but the first game, like I couldn't solve the problem, so I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm getting out. I'm not playing this game. So,
Oh,
yeah,
you had trouble building parks or getting through
yeah,
challenge mode?
yeah, and it's a hard game. Like that's why, like when it comes to video games, I usually play like Rockstar games such as like Red Dead, GTA. Occasionally, I do play Path of Titans. I don't know if you heard of Path of Titans before.
I have.
Yeah, Path of
So,
Titans is actually pretty cool. Although I don't play online because people online are let's just say they're dickheads because
uh,
they like I was playing as a young T Rex, minding my own business, and then all of a sudden I get killed
by
by a Pachycephalosaurus.
I'm guessing a Pachycephalosaurus that's being controlled by another player.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's an interactive game.
Yeah, it's an interactive game. You can play single player, though single player is boring, but whatever.
Oh,
It's an online game at the end of the day, even though, like I said, people online are not nice.
yeah, or at least not as nice as they may seem appear in person.
Yeah,
'Cause-
that's why I don't play online because they're
yes.
like I said, they're dicks.
Well,
Even though
yes,
that
because I thought it would have been worse if they were I thought it would have been worse if they were cheating in the game.
yeah. What I would love
Hmm.
to do is like play your own character and fight your other character in Path of Titans. That would be cool.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be, although
I hope
I
that they do
tend
that.
well, I do hope for you too. Although the reason I stick to just Evolution 2 and Prehistoric Kingdom is that after completing all the challenges and campaign and stuff, I get to make my own park or zoo. And usually nowadays, I when I do my zoos or parks, I usually try to build paddocks or exhibits with dinosaurs of the same period in time if I can. So such as in Evolution 2, I have Triceratops and Monosaurus and Kylosaurus and Pachycephalosaurus all in one paddocks alongside T-Rex, and same in Prehistoric Kingdom. So these days I use those games to build well, mainly Prehistoric Kingdom, to build an accurate depiction of Hell Creek, both with flora and fauna, even though it is still in early access, but
Interesting.
I use it for practice for when full access will come.
Yeah, I hope that I hope that one day I can play um um Prehistoric Kingdom because Prehistoric Kingdom seems to be a really good game. Like the graphics, like everything about Prehistoric Kingdom is pretty dope. Um
It is, seeing that it's the very first game, the very first tycoon built, the very first dinosaur park building game where they use accurate animals and accurate depictions instead of Jurassic depictions. Because I'm sure with all the dinosaur park building games, they've all been Jurassic, with Operation Genesis being the first for a long time until Evolution came along.
yeah,
Although there was also Zoo Tycoon, which did have a dinosaur pack, but that was just part of one part of Zoo Tycoon, so I don't really count that.
yeah. And honestly, like sometimes, like in Operation Genesis, sometimes I even forget that it's a Jurassic Park game at times because it
Oh,
feels like more of a zoo than Jurassic Park itself, even though Jurassic Park is technically a zoo, but not really, if that makes sense.
it was, and it was in, at least in the first movie, it was, in that
Yeah,
it wasn't really complete. But when we go to World about a decade later, then it is really a full park, which that's
yeah,
when evolution came along.
yeah. And I also like how in Operation Genesis, they're treated as animals instead of like rage monsters. I mean, even though that evolution, they kind of treat them as animals as well, but not as much as Operation Genesis. And Prehistoric Kingdom, they treat them as animals as well.
Well, yes, I think in Prehistoric Kingdom, it's all about accuracy, so they'd have
Yeah,
to be treated and depicted more as animals than being just tied to a license for a movie franchise.
yeah. I hope that I hope that we'll see like some like fight scenes in Prehistoric Kingdom, which we probably
Yes.
will.
Yes, I think the developers are still working on that.
Yeah, like for example, like I want to see like what's the how is the T Rex going to kill a Triceratops and stuff? Like because I heard rumors that when a T Rex kills a trike, they usually pull its neck
Mm.
and pull it back. But then again, they probably do it when it's dead, but not when
Well,
it's alive.
yes, they would just have to, while it was alive, they would just have to do is try to avoid the horns.
Yeah. And besides, if it tried to do that to a trike, it'll be like, "What the hell are you doing?" And it'll be like, "Bam!" right in the T Rex's like belly or whatever.
Right. But I think with Prehistoric Kingdom, I they do have a site where they had a layout roadmap of their planned development for the game.
Yeah.
And I think I'll send you that link for you to check out yourself if you ever
Oh, okay.
get
Yeah.
into the game. If you ever get into the game.
Yeah.
I,
I hope that
mm,
it comes out on the PS5 because I have a
so-
PS4 and a 5.
oh, so you don't have a computer?
I I mean, I have a laptop,
Mm.
but I don't have the computer like you have.
Oh, well, if you ever do get a new one, I hope you get one. I hope you get a gaming one good enough for Restart Kingdom.
The only problem is that I'm not really a PC guy. I'm more of a PS4 or a PS5 4 guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that what you're using to shoot from now?
I have a laptop.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
This isn't I have like a mini laptop. It's not a gaming laptop or anything special. It's just a regular laptop. But
I
that's
see.
fine. Yeah. Um is there any projects you would like to do like your own like documentaries or something or like movies and stuff?
Movies. Well, if it comes to that, I'm more of a follower than leader. So if there was ever a project, I would probably want to probably have it be on anything on Hell Creek, since I've had that on my mind lately.
Yeah.
And I find that I tend to read more about Hell Creek than any other dinosaur formation. This
Interesting.
and I actually, if I was to probably join a project anywhere, I'd probably want to join probably the Museum of the Rockies and what they do.
Hmm. Interesting. Um for me, I want to do a project on the American lion because a lot of people have never done documentaries on American lions. And basically, my project is it's going to be a documentary, but it's going to be adventurous and excitement. It's going to be called the Atrox Brothers. So it's going to be two brothers that are looking for a pride and they're having like big adventures and stuff like that. It's going to be Mufasa the Lion King.
Sounds interesting, and it also sounds similar to a lion documentary or two that I once saw about two male lion brothers who actually were kicked out of their pride, and they were actually looking for a pride of their own. I do remember watching a lion documentary or two about that.
Yeah, they do like a lot of documentaries on that. Like, and
Mhm,
in lion behavior, males are kicked out in the pride to
mhm,
find their own pride.
mhm.
And yeah,
Yes.
and the only thing is that there's been a lot of debates on American lions because they're like saying that, oh, American lions are solitary,
Hmm.
and I'm like, do we know that? I don't know.
Well, well,
And
I do know that in most depictions, these Cenozoic cats are mostly Smilodon, other saber cats, and some Cenozoic lions are mostly depicted as being social. So I have to say it's very likely. And I just do remember watching Life on Our Planet, which is probably for me the first time I've seen the American lion depicted. The part
that's
where it
that's
was.
more of a those are cave lions, the Eurasian
Oh,
cave lions, not American lions.
oh, oh, well, I mean, lions are lions, and
Of
nonetheless.
course, of course. It's just it is what it is.
Mm,
And another thing too is that people are saying that American lions are still not a lion. They're this and that. That's why they're called Panthera atrox. Yes, I am aware that American lions are still lions,
mm,
but and yes, I am aware that they're not in the real Leo category, but they're still lions at the end of the day.
right.
Yeah. That's the problem with these people. Like some of these people are just knuckleheads. Like I
Well,
try to explain to this one person that American lions are lions, and he didn't want to believe in it. So he's like this and that, this and that. I'm like, screw this person.
he sounds like it was one of those creationists.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, of young Earth creationists, have you ever heard of Ken Hovind?
Uh, no, not really. I haven't. Have you heard of Ray White?
No.
Hmm.
Sounds familiar though. But Ken Hovind is like one of those like young Earth creationists who thinks that the Earth is 6,000 years old.
Uh,
Dinosaurs lived with man. They did not live 65 million years ago. Okay.
oh yeah, I've heard that. They clearly have never heard they've never heard of fossils, and they don't even know what scientists find.
There's no such thing as a fossil record.
Mhm.
There are
Yes, but
fossils, but not a record.
clearly they've either never been to a museum or they don't know what a museum is.
Yeah. They think that like they're dragons or something.
The dragons, well, I have to say, to a degree, they actually are.
Dinosaurs are
Well,
dragons?
well, not the dinosaurs themselves, but there have been dragons around before.
Yeah. It's just that and I used to believe in that too, but I used to believe in like dragons, but
Mm,
not anymore. Speaking of
mm.
which, what are your thoughts on cryptozoology? Do you believe in that stuff?
Cryptozoology? Uh,
Yeah.
I've actually never heard of that.
Oh,
So,
I'm shocked.
so
Cryp-
might have to fill me in on that. Fill me in on that.
So cryptids or cryptozoology, whatever you want to pronounce it, is like studying like animals such as Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Loch Ness
Oh,
monster.
those guys.
Yeah.
Well, Bigfoot, I'm not too sure, but if uh, if there's ever a live picture if I ever find a live picture, then sure, I'll know Bigfoot is around or was around.
Yeah.
Was
They found like
around.
someone found like a skull, what appears to be a gigant like a fake replica, like a really really bad replica Gigantopithecus, and they
Mm.
found out, oh, it's Bigfoot. No, it's fake.
Well,
There was
and
just trolling. There was just trolling the audience. Um, the only cryptids that I believe in is the British big cats because there's been some evidence of British big of cats that are hunting the livestock in Britain because they found puncture marks of a neck of not a deer of a sheep. And there's been at one time that there were some black cat, um, black big cat specimens that escaped either in zoos or in circuses
oh,
during the during the during the 60s.
wow, interesting.
Yeah, those are the only cryptids I believe in, the British big cats, and they sound to be more realistic than Bigfoot and or Sasquatch or whatever. But that's just me, though.
Yes, they sound more realistic than even the Loch Ness monster.
Yeah, so I do believe that I think that the British big cats are still around in Britain, but it'll be really really hard to find them. Matter of fact, Darren Naish actually talked about it in Monster Quest.
Yes, well, I'd have to imagine the only people who can find them are the Britain people over there, if they bother to try.
Yeah, there was even some British military that also came to find the cats, but no luck.
Well, then I'm guessing if they still can't find them, then the cats were wiped out for some
Yeah,
reason.
it is possible, but maybe there's some out there we just don't know.
Well, I guess unless they want to keep trying, we'll have to declare them extinct. Unless they want to, they're really determined.
Yeah, yeah, and there's even like Australian big cats, cryptid big cats as well. Um, like I even heard that there's even a cryptid called the Queensland tiger, which basically it's not really a cat though. You know the thylacine, right?
I do.
The marsupial lion. Well, pretty
Yeah.
much it's like a mixture of like Thyocaleo and the Tasmanian tiger, the thylacine.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah, the Queensland tiger. So that's why some people believe in the Queensland tiger. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it on the cryptid cats, but
Hmm.
that's pretty much it.
Well,
Um, what is your what's your favorite Jurassic Park film?
well, I'm probably gonna have to go. I used to go with the first one, although first one's still dear to my heart. But with Lost World and three, I do like the whole park trilogy as a whole, as it's still dear to my heart, as it has been for the longest time. The World trilogy, maybe not as much, but again, I work around them, so I still keep them. And they each of the world and the World trilogy did have their moments. So I still I still keep all six, but the first one is still dear to my heart, as is Lost World and three. So I do like the Park trilogy and the World trilogy as well.
A lot of people don't like 3.
Well, yeah, I used to hear that, but once the World trilogy came, I've heard more appreciation for 3 and even Lost World, which I know used to get lots of hate, but now
Yeah.
it's the World trilogy that gets the hate and Lost World and 3 get less now.
Yeah, it feels like that the world trilogies are like they're like running out of ideas
Mm.
because
Well,
it's like they're trying like because like now like they're trying they said according to interviews they said that they're not going to make any hybrids anymore
No.
but yet but they're doing prequels though, or midquels, or whatever they're doing, and they're still putting hybrids there. It's just
Really?
that they're not doing it after Fallen Kingdom, if that makes sense.
Well, if they were going by prequel, which I'm assuming by prequel you mean Camp Cretaceous, in which
Yes.
I do remember there was only one other hybrid there, other than that wasn't the Indominus Rex, and it wasn't the Indoraptor. I think it was called Scorpius Rex or something, but
Yes,
that was
Scorpius
it.
Rex.
Those were there were only just three hybrids. Well, mainly just two because I only take the movies into account, the six
Yeah.
movies into account. Camp Cretaceous I don't take into account as much, but I do say it's film canon. But overall, if we're including Camp Cretaceous, there were only ever three hybrids on screen. But if we're talking just the movies, there were only just two.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of Camp Cretaceous that much. I mean, I tried it, but I don't know.
It did have its moments, and likewise with Chaos Theory, which
Yeah, it did too. I didn't see Chaos Theory because I don't know. It just didn't look that up. I don't know why, but
it's on Netflix now, along with Camp Cretaceous. If you ever care to give it a go.
I know. I heard that Brooklyn's a bitch.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, she's maybe turning into one.
Yeah, she's going to be the villain,
Well, maybe there's gonna be a third season this year, and
even
maybe a
though
fourth.
that she
Maybe
lost an arm.
yes,
Spoiler
there'll
alert.
there'll be a third season and maybe a fourth. So who knows if she'll change sides again?
Yeah, I know that my least favorite character was Kenji. Kenji
Hmm.
was a douche in
Oh,
couple of the Camp Cretaceous seasons, but now like you feel sympathetic because of his father. Well, not to
yes.
mention because Kenji's a spoiled brat douche
Oh.
because his father spoils him. So
Yeah, I do remember something like that.
yeah, but Darius, the main character, he's cool.
Yeah, I guess he's probably the only character I remember.
Yeah,
Um,
and the nerdy kid, Ben. Yeah,
mhm.
he
Oh,
became like a really super coward
yes.
to like Tarzan. Like
Oh, yes. I think as far as the villains go, I'd say my favorites would probably be I forgot what their names were. That's the hunting couple. I think their names were Mitch and Tiff. I'd say those were my favorite villains.
honestly, I don't even know my favorite villains
Mm,
of the franchise. I just go
mm.
by the dinosaurs.
Yes. Well, I'm only talking camp. I'm only talking my favorite villains of Camp Cretaceous.
I
If
know, I
we're-
know. I forget the
mm,
villain, the
mm,
human
mm.
characters because
Yes,
I just don't care.
yes. I mean, the character I'm most familiar with, and probably my only favorite character is Dr. Grant.
Yeah, him and um, Jeff Goldblum's character,
Ian Malcolm.
Ian Malcolm. Yeah,
Mm,
because he's funny.
yes. And
Ali Sattler, mostly the
yes.
older characters, and
Yes.
John Hammond, of course.
Yes. I mean, the fact that Grant, Ellie, and Malcolm did return into meaning was enough for me to keep it.
Yeah, that's the only positive side.
Mm.
Not to mention, I did like when Ian Malcolm well, not stabbed, but he like threw a fire stick up the Giganotosaurus's mouth. That was pretty cool.
Oh yes, it was.
Yeah,
Mm.
even though that the Giganotosaurus design was pretty shitty. That's why I call
Well,
it Shittynotosaurus.
well, yes, I admit I wasn't too fond of that design at first, but now I've come to embrace it and appreciate it and just accept it.
Yeah, but it's like you could have used the not the Dominion, the fallen not fallen kingdom, but the evolution one that yeah, the Jurassic World evolution Giganotosaurus because that one looked pretty cool.
Well, I do remember in interviews saying that Trevorrow said that he wanted the Jigga to be the Joker or something, and that if for the audience may have a hard time telling both Rex and Jigga apart. So I
I
forgive.
was laughing.
I forgive him for that, and I understand what he's. I understand where it was coming from, and I forgave him for that.
I was laughing saying that, oh, Giganotosaurus is the Joker of the franchise. I'm like, don't we have another technically Joker of the franchise, and that's the Indoraptor because it smiled like the Joker?
Oh,
I don't know.
I remember that part.
Yeah. It was like the weird, it was like the funniest interview.
Yes. Well,
Um,
yes, but I did think that the Jigga was decent in the prologue and in some scenes in the movie where it first meets the Rex, and they did have they did have a short fight, but then it ended very quickly when the Rex backed down, and that was probably the most realistic fight in the movies.
yeah, except for that in real life,
Mm.
Tyrannosaurus would have won the fight.
Well, that's true if it did bother to stay around to fight long enough, because again, with most wildlife we see that they try to spend a very small fraction of the time fighting to avoid getting hurt.
Of course. Yeah. It's just that like if a Rex did bite the Giganotosaurus's face, it would be complete off because Tyrannosaurus had really strong like jaws and it could like bite the Giganotosaurus's face clean off.
Well,
Not to be fanboying or anything like that. It's just that it doesn't have the experience, if that makes sense. Because T Rex, we have a lot of specimens of Rexes fighting one another.
right, that is true, and that's actually one of the common questions I get a lot when I teach. Well, usually I get this question a lot from kids because I had mentioned this, but if you know someone named George Basling who goes by the name of Dinosaur George, he has
Oh,
lessons. Well, he has lessons on Patreon, which I kind of act as a science communicator for, where I help ask questions and about anything and about his lessons or just who would win. And we get that question like who would win between Rex and Jigga, and my answer is that usually it depends who makes the first move, because if Rex makes the first move, it could literally just break every bone in Jigga's body. But if Jigga made the first move, it could literally just bleed out the T-Rex, and that the Rex would just die from eternal bleeding.
yeah. Or if they both collide with each other, if they both bite one another, then Jig's going to be dead, and then Rex is going to be dead later on.
Yes, I guess it could end that way too.
Yeah, that's why like I don't like the oh who would win in a fight situation because it's such a boring answer.
Well, I would say that, well, for me, I had to say it's a bit challenging sometimes when you have to. It is a bit of a challenging when you have to explain that not all dinosaurs lived at the same time and place, but it can be an interesting an opportunity to an educational opportunity. But
Like
if it was say between T-Rex and Triceratops, that for sure is a good that that for sure can be a, an easier question to ask, and that has can also be a big depend on who makes the first move and who's weaker and who's stronger in a certain situation.
yeah, exactly. That's why like as I said before, it's boring. Like that's why like do something like answer like ask questions about like do I don't know do most dinosaurs see in color or do most dinosaurs um I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else question that I have. Like, do some dinosaurs sharp their teeth a lot, or
Oh,
I don't know, just
well,
some
we
like
get
those
questions. Well,
more.
we
interesting
do,
questions. And
we do also get questions like those as well in our
yeah,
lessons.
yeah, that's why I'm not really a fan of George Blazing that much, but that's just my own personal opinion.
Oh, oh, oh,
Yeah.
boy, at least you know him.
Yeah, I mean, don't. But then again, don't get me wrong. I did buy some of his, the fossil replicas called dinosaurgeorge.com, but not anymore. And when I even went on his website, it's like his store barely doesn't even have fossil replicas. So that's
Well,
why, like, I have there's like better fossil replicas that I like bone
well,
clones and
uh,
Skulls Unlimited and things like that.
well, I tend to look at all fossil replicas as just as equal because they're all replicas. They're not none of them are the real thing.
That is true. It's just that like most replicas are not impressive. If that makes sense.
Well, to some maybe, I suppose.
That is true.
Mm.
Um, so so how was your Christmas?
Mine wasn't too bad. It came and went.
Did
Yours?
you get anything cool?
Cool. Well, I didn't really get too much, but presents don't really matter to me anymore.
Oh, really?
So, uh,
Interesting.
usually if I get something, I usually get it myself. I get
I get
it. Mm.
well, I got the Beast of the Cenozoic Smilodon, and I
Oh,
also got
did you
some
shopping?
Papo lion figures,
Oh,
um,
nice.
dinosaur posters,
Ah,
and
mm.
that's pretty much it.
Well, it sounds like good stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait for my birthday, which is going to be February 4th. I wonder what presents I'm gonna get.
Well, I hope it's something nice.
Yeah, I hope to get that that replacement Smilodon front leg because, like I said, the front leg is like it failed, and I tried everything. I tried hot water. I tried hair dryer. Nothing.
Yes. Well, I'm sure the people at Beast of the Mesozoic are working on that for you.
Yeah, of course, of
Mm.
course. It's just that it takes a lot of time.
Yes, but it'll be here soon enough.
Yeah, and I also ordered the Allosaurus Annex figure from not Beast of the Mesozoic, the PNSO. I don't know if you ever heard of that company before.
Yeah, I have. I've looked at their figures.
Their figures are dope.
Oh, well, they're also quite decent and accurate on a smaller scale compared to Beast of the Mesozoic.
Yeah, with Beast of the Mesozoic, they just focus on like one series at a time, but with PNSO, they pretty much do almost everything.
Well, then basically, Beast of the Mesozoic, they're just a bit slower than PNSO.
Yeah, that's why I kind of like PNSO and even like Safari Limited too. And yeah, Safari Limited also does that too.
So yeah, I remember collecting a lot of Safari Limited as a child.
Me too. Like I used to have a tiger figure, I think a lion figure, like, but luckily now I still have Safari Limited toys because it's like, all this entire time I used to have Safari Limited toys as a kid, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna collect more and more and more and more and more.
So you go by the quality over quantity.
Yeah, like even Darian Nash, like he has like a shit ton of Safari Limited, Beast of the Mesozoic, Papo, everything.
Wow, yes, I remember I used to collect Papo.
Yeah,
The-
Papo, they're doing a feather T Rex. I
Yes.
am not impressed with it.
Uh, yeah, I admit that's one of the few things I'm skeptical of, but in later years, if there's if there's more favor for feathers on T-Rex, then I'll accept it, and probably the same way as there's been fighting over lips as well.
Oh yeah, don't get me started with lips.
Mm,
I used to be the anti-lip guy. I kind of still am,
mm,
sort of speak, but I kind of gave up on the debate because
mm,
it's pointless.
mm,
And it's like, why can't we just be friends? Because in my
mm.
profile picture, I don't know if you saw this, but they're
Yeah,
literally hugging each other out.
yeah, I saw that, and usually I've in recent years I've actually come to appreciate lips. But hey, if there's more favor for lips later, at least that's one of the few things the Jurassic movies did get right. Although at one point I did post and ask, is there ever a site for half lips? Which I
Yeah,
think Prehistoric Kingdom did at one point did have half lips, but then
yeah,
they updated to full lips.
yeah. That's like, why? Like, you could have done it with half lips. You don't have to upgrade the Rex. Like, you should have done it with. You should have leave it alone. But it's whatever. At least that the good thing is, at least that with the prehistoric planet Tyrannosaurus, it's like when he opens its mouth, you can still see its upper teeth, which I do appreciate because it's like when you're trying to do lips on theropods, don't make them look like they're like toothless, like some monitor lizards have, but make them like have teeth stick out when they open because T-Rex had really long teeth.
Really long and beef. They're even longer than, say, the largest lizard's teeth, the Komodo dragon's teeth. Which I know
Yeah.
that for a Komodo dragon, their teeth are big, but their lips fully cover their teeth.
Yeah,
Almost.
but they're not like um, banana size railroad spike like teeth. You know, like T-Rex
Right.
teeth are pretty long. I was actually thinking about like maybe some theropods may have had lips and some didn't. Like for example, allosaurids, dromaeosaurs, abelisaurs, um, enterodontids. Maybe they had lips, but like spinosaurids, tyrannosaurids, at least yeah, tyrannosaurids, megasaurines, and even cockrodontosaurids, some of them, maybe they didn't have lips because their teeth were so long. And
Oh,
Ceratosaurus itself, because Ceratosaurus even had the longest teeth of any theropod in the Morrison. But
hmm. Well, I'm kind of open to all of them having lips, even the Spinosaurids, which are often the Spinosaurids. They're often depicted without lips. Through all the depictions, the Spinosaurs are always depicted with their teeth showing. But
yeah,
everything else, they've been on and off. Would-
but then again, like I stay out of it. I
mm,
stay out of the debate. But it's like I say, like until we find a mummy, we
mm.
will know the truth, and that's just that.
Uh, well, yes, I say after there's been a trike mummy, and then there's been an Imanta mummy. I'd say the chances of finding a Rex mummy may be around the corner.
Yeah, let's cross our fingers. Let's
Yes,
cross our fingers
mm, yeah,
until when that day comes. Then we'll know the truth if Rex had scaly skin, lips, feathers,
mm,
or maybe if it was purple. I'm just making dumb
right.
shit up, but
Well, yes, I don't know about color unless feathers are found
yeah,
because I do know that there are some dinosaurs which we do know the color of based on the featherings, and such as or at least the metallostones in some feathers, such as Sinosauropteryx.
yeah. And Sinosauropteryx is the only dinosaur that we have that has like a color. Well, that has like an orangey, brownish like coloring ish. Yeah, yeah. That's
And that's from Asia,
yeah,
in which I actually it seems that there are most feathered dinosaurs come from Asia than anywhere else.
yeah. Who knows? We will have to see.
Yes.
And we'll have to see more like if we find like more color on dinosaurs and stuff like that.
As long as it's well, I think that'll only be with the Coelurosaurs, seeing that they're only fully feathered dinosaurs.
Yeah, because they're small, some of
Oh,
them,
yeah,
and they're more adaptable and they're very bird-like, at least for some of them.
right.
Yeah. Even T-Rex was very bird-like as well. Like I also do appreciate with the prehistoric planet Tyrannosaurus, like its eyes were very bird-like.
Oh yes, because I think that's might be. Well, actually, the Velociraptor in Prehistoric Planet also had bird-like eyes.
Yeah, that's true. It
Yes,
also had bird-like eyes too, because
yes,
well, dromaeosaurs are more closely related to birds, but
yes. And in which, when it comes to dromaeosaurs, I always compare them to actual raptors today. By that
same.
I mean the bir- by that I mean the birds of prey, because I actually do stand for. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but it's called the raptor prey restraint theory.
Yeah,
Where
they do
I
like they
yes,
pin them down and they use their
yes,
weight to like rip
right.
like pin down apart just like birds would do today.
That's
Well,
one
birds
of
of
the
prey would do.
Yes, that's one of the things that I'm extremely firm about,
Yeah.
that I do believe dromaeosaurs were basically flightless eagles or hawks that did use their sickle-shaped claw to pin down and stab, and rather than slash as depicted in the Jurassic movies. And even I
Yeah.
do remember watching The Truth About Killer Dinosaurs, where they did have a velociraptor claw and they tested it with a block of meat, and they showed that the claw was built for stabbing like a hawk or an eagle. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've watched The Truth About Killer Dinosaurs yourself.
I did. It's a pretty good documentary.
Mm.
Um yeah, it actually showed that velociraptors did indeed stab their prey instead of like ripping them apart. But hey, stabbing is still pretty impressive.
Yes, because look how a hawk or eagle or a falcon stabs.
Yeah. They would just use their massive weight to pin down a prey animal and do the final kill.
Yes, with their talons.
Yeah, with their foot talons and their claws, their hand claws too.
Oh,
Um, I wonder if allosaurs do that too.
allosaurs?
Yeah, like I wonder like if allosaurs would just hold on like big cats would
Hmm.
and just bite the neck and hold on tight until the animal bleeds to death.
Well, that's kind of new, because I used to hear that Allosaurus mainly just used its jaws and like an axe, which to some it's mostly that's not really a thing anymore.
It's
But
debunked.
is the what?
It's debunked.
Oh, oh, debunked, because it may have used it like an axe, because when you cut with an axe, you're basically slicing, and we all know Allosaurus teeth are built for slicing as well.
Well, the only thing is that apparently in this paper that they've actually had that Allosaurus may have not done that because of the stressing muscles that it did. So if it tried to do that, then it would break its teeth entirely. So what it would do is that it would probably just rip a chunk of meat and then go back, and then rip a chunk of meat and then go back. Like
Oh,
all like even like the Cochrodontosaurids would do as well. Like they would just rip meat a chunk of sauropod meat off, and then they head to retreat and then go back.
oh, well, yeah, I remember that being depicted in Planet Dinosaur between Mapusaurus and Argentinosaurus. But, if Mapusaurus or Allosaurus did lose its teeth, at least it would grow new teeth, as all
Yeah,
dinosaurs did.
yeah, but it's like if they try to do the actual axe killing bite, like it would break its front jaw too. At
Oh,
least what I heard.
I guess that would hurt more than being tail whipped in the face.
Yeah, and there was even like a oh yeah, and I also liked how in 2024 there was actually a paper that actually now proves that sauropod tails were actually a really good defense as we thought, because
Yes.
I heard rumors that its tail was useless, their tails were useless in combat, but now they're actually very good defense weapons.
Well, I've heard some on and off about sauropod tails, even before even before this paper, I've heard there was also favor for tails being used as a whip, along with breaking the sound barrier. Because I do remember reading about one Allosaurus specimen that did have pathologies from a sauropod tail, which it may have been a Diplodocus tail, from a Diplodocus tail, or maybe a Camarasaurus tail. I wasn't sure which sauropod maybe
Really?
tail whipped an Allosaurus, but I do remember an Allosaurus with a fractured jaw from a tail whip.
Oh, are you talking about the broken jaw specimen?
Yeah, I believe so.
That
Mm.
I okay, it's implied that the broken jaw specimen was actually by another
Mm.
Allosaurus, not
Oh.
by not by a sauropod,
Mm. Oh.
because because it also was a young animal as well. So it
Mm.
apparently it was killed by another adult and its jaw was
Mm.
broken
Mm.
and it died.
Ah.
That's what I
So,
heard about the new broken jaw, the new paper
mm.
that just came out. Well, what
Mm.
about the broken jaw specimen? But let's hope
Mm.
that we will find
Yes.
like an actual Allosaurus
Mm.
specimen that
Mm.
had like broken
Mm.
ribs or like a broken leg
Mm.
or jaw or whatever by a sauropod. That would
Yes.
be cool.
And do you think this paper you're talking about had some reference to Dinosaur Revolution? The show.
Yeah, the show didn't focus on that.
Mm.
They were just saying that, oh,
Mm.
it
Mm.
was by a sauropod.
Yes.
No, it actually showed evidence that it actually was by another Allosaurus.
Huh. Because I do remember I watched Dinosaur Revolution maybe once a long time ago, and I remember one episode about an Allosaurus, the European species.
Yeah, Allosaurus europurus. Yeah, apparently the that documentary I didn't really like, and not to
Mm.
mention like since it was a like a hatchling or it
Mm.
was a juvenile or whatever,
Mm.
it would have been dead
Mhm.
because the force of a sauropod's tail
Mhm.
is like really really dangerous. So it's
Yes.
like I don't think a juvenile would not survive that type of injury on an
Us.
adult sauropod
Mm.
tail.
Hmm. Well, if a juvenile couldn't, then I don't see how an adult could either.
An adult would probably survive, but a
Mm.
young animal like
Mhm.
that, like a
Mhm.
really, really
Mhm.
inexperienced
Mhm.
hatchling or
Mhm.
juvenile, it's gonna be tough.
Because a young or a juvenile individual would die right away, but an adult may not die at first, but it may be injured and it may not be able to hunt as efficiently as much as it was before it got injured, and then it would
Yeah,
in the long run it would die from starvation, seeing that if an animal if a carnivore is injured, it's fatal and it's permanent, and they're not able to hunt as much, and they'll eventually die from starvation.
but then again, look at birds and well, look at crocodilians and other reptiles. They're
Mm.
tough as nails and they can survive
Mm.
terrible injuries. Like there was an
Mm.
alligator that lost its front limb from another fight.
Mm.
There was also a um, a crocodile's bite that its front snout was completely ripped off from another animal, well, another of its own kind. Even an alligator
Mm.
too. So they're
Well,
tough as nails. Theropods are probably tough as alligators and crocs.
I suppose. Although in the case of crocs and alligators, I'd have to say that it's mainly they use their jaws to fight. If part of the jaw was torn off completely, then I'd have to say then it may not be so tough because with part of your jaw torn off, you won't be able to grow new teeth even if you lost them in combat.
There was actually an alligator that actually lost its lower jaw.
So I guess it didn't survive too much after that, too long after that.
Yeah, who knows?
Hmm.
And also, like, but but the thing is that the broken jaw specimen was actually killed. You
Oh,
know,
so it didn't. So it lived very short after that.
yeah, it probably was attacked. It probably was bitten by by another individual specimen, and its jaw came part of its jaw came apart, and it just died like that.
Well, it would be a much easier target than it was before.
Yeah. Speaking of which, of Allosaurus, what are your thoughts on Ceratosaurus?
Well, I used to be confused on its size, and I'm not talking just about the Jurassic depiction of it, but I have heard some on and off about it being either smaller or almost equivalent in size to Allosaurus. But I do believe that they could have been either competitors, saying that to me they are both big enough to take down a Stegosaurus, or they could have been involved in niche partitioning along with Torvosaurus. So
Yeah.
I'd have to say they were either competitors or there was just niche partitioning.
Yeah, honestly, Ceratosaurus is seems to be one of the coolest theropods
Mhm.
ever in the Morrison.
Mm,
But in media depictions, they always downplay on the poor animal. It's
mm,
like, what has Ceratosaurus ever done to you? And it's more
mm,
specifically Jurassic Fight Club that
mm,
they bullied Ceratosaurus, saying that Ceratosaurus is just a dumb animal
mm,
that didn't survive well. It's actually more adaptable than
mm.
Allosaurus, and it
Oh,
survived
mm.
well when the extinction of the Jurassic period happened. So Ceratosaurus actually died out last than Allosaurus because it was smaller.
Oh, yes, and not to mention that compared to Torvosaurus and Allosaurus, it had the biggest teeth of the three.
Yeah, it had the longest teeth. That's
Yes.
why that Ceratosaurus is very special, you know?
Well, yes, they're all special in their own way because like with Torvosaurus, see how rare that is compared to Allosaurus and Ceratosaurus in North America at least.
Yeah. Like I I did not like when like immediate depictions like they're treating Ceratosaurus as cannon
Mm,
fodder, which is ridiculous as well.
yes. Well, I haven't seen too many depictions of Ceratosaurus other than Jurassic Fight Club and Jurassic, so
Well,
I think
Jurassic
that
Fight
one.
Club, they embarrassed
Mm,
Ceratosaurus.
mm. At least I believe in when dinosaurs roamed America, I think they treated Ceratosaurus decently when it goes up against Stegosaurus.
They did, but towards at the very end of the part of the end of the Jurassic segue, it was killed by an Allosaurus.
Oh, yeah, there was that as well.
Yeah, but hey, at least that
Mm,
they treated it as an
yes,
animal,
mm,
and they treat it as like
mm,
part of an apex predator
yes,
by its
and
own right.
or at least treated as a predator that could put up a fight.
Yeah, even though that in real life it would definitely would not mess around with a Stegosaurus.
Well, I probably unless it was that desperate.
If it was desperate or
Mm, mhm.
if it was with a mate, then yeah, who knows?
Yes. Because
Yeah,
I may have heard at one point that if there was niche partitioning, then Ceratosaurus would have been more specialized in hunting the ornithopods such as Dryosaurus and Camptosaurus, maybe
yeah,
Stegosaurus time to time, while Allosaurus did did always- did fixate on Stegosaurus as depicted many times, and occasionally maybe sauropods, juvenile sauropods at least. Wild
yeah,
Tarbosaurus, also the same as Allosaurus,
yeah,
mainly focused on mainly targeted Stegosaurus and some sauropods. So I might say
and
that maybe Torvosaurus and Allosaurus may have competed more with each other than say they did with Ceratosaurus if there was ever both a mix of competition and niche partitioning.
Exactly. And since Ceratosaurus was more adaptable,
Mm.
it would probably know better to stay away from Allosaurus and Torvosaurus. Unless if you count this one big specimen that was like almost the size of an Allosaurus, then I don't know.
Well, that's just one specimen, so maybe if it did come across an Allosaurus, maybe they would compete.
Yeah. And don't forget about quote unquote Saurophaganax
Oh
or
yes. Well, if it still remains a theropod and it's still separate
it
from
is
Allosaurus.
it is still a theropod. It's
Mhm,
just that Saurophaganax
mhm,
is a sauropod,
mhm,
not the animal itself. The animal itself is
mhm.
called Allosaurus anax.
Yes, because back before Anax, it used to be on and off between Saurophaganax maximus and Allosaurus maximus,
Yeah.
which I wasn't really too sure. I wasn't too sure which one it was, but hey, if it turns out that Sauro
Mm.
was just an oversized Allosaurus, at least Allosaurus would be the state fossil of two states, that being Utah and Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Hmm,
indeed.
hmm,
Yeah.
hmm, hmm.
Who's your favorite paleo YouTuber?
Uh, Well, I don't really follow many paleo people on YouTube. I'm usually more on Facebook and Instagram. But so in that case, I'd have to say my favorite followers would probably most people I do follow are people like Thomas Holtz or Dr. Brian Curtis, or there's also I do follow both Ashley and Lee Hall from the Museum of the Rockies. Because
Interesting.
those are the mainly some of the main experts I follow, and I tend to follow a lot of the natural history museums.
I want to follow scientists. It's just that like it's hard because some of them don't have Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And there's also like I really want to answer question like ask questions. It's just that like they're always busy as hell. That's the problem.
Well,
Most of them, not all of them, but well, actually, yeah, some of them. But you know,
if you do know Dr. Brian Curtis, he runs Fossil Crates, and he actually you should go to his channel, and which is Fossil Crates, and it's also on Facebook. And I talk to him a lot, and we have meetings with experts on Saturdays. Well, almost every other Saturday each month, and there we ask questions. So if you ever, that's something you could join.
yeah, I would love to do that.
Mm,
Except for that, you live in a
mm,
different state, and I
Yes,
don't.
as well. I he's in Arizona, and we're here in the East Coast, and usually the time works for me, at least. They're usually
Oh,
in the afternoon.
I thought you go to the
No,
place.
no, they're virtual. They're virtual. They're on Zoom.
Oh,
No, they're
oh, wow.
no.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we have our meeting. We have our meetings on virtually on Zoom. We have.
Damn.
We have.
Why did I ever think of
Oh,
that? Holy crap.
yes,
Damn.
yes.
Well, I would love to talk to Dr. Brian Curtis and a lot of people.
Yes,
Who
well,
knows?
I again, you should look up fossil crates on YouTube, and also you should be able to find
I
his
do.
website where
I
you can.
actually do follow fossil crates on YouTube. They're pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's by him. That's
Yeah.
by him.
And and I also know that he also interviewed Tracy Ford, which he's a really good
Yes,
guy. You know Tracy Ford.
I do.
Yeah. I actually interviewed him. He was actually my first interviewer that I did.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah. And I'm gonna get one of his books someday. Yeah.
Ah, well,
So,
I hope you do.
yeah.
One book.
I actually
Mhm,
do have one book
mhm.
called Why Theropods Don't Have Lips, which I highly recommend getting that book. But yeah.
Sure, if I ever get around.
Yeah.
One book I have in mind is there is one recent one called the Lost World of the Dinosaurs, I think it's called. It came right at the end of last year, and I think it's by someone named Armin Schmidt.
Oh, interesting.
So I have my eye on getting that one soon.
Yeah, yeah. Really cool.
Yes.
Well, I gotta go, but I
Okay.
appreciate the link of
Yes.
the prehistoric kingdom and
Yes.
fossil crates and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. The second link I gave you was, I think that's where you can sign up for, so you can sign up to join our virtual meetings.
Interesting. Yeah.
Where you can become a member, and then he'll send you a link to join on Zoom on Saturdays.
Yeah. Why did I ever think of that?
Mm,
Yeah. Ah, crap.
mm,
I tried to do my password and it
mm,
won't let me. Well, I'll
mm.
figure it out.
Well, I hope you do.
Yeah.
Mm,
Well,
mm,
you take care now and
mm,
have a nice day and a really good interview.
mm,
This
mm.
is Robert
Fonderson.
Robert
Mm.
Fonderson,
Yes.
really good
Mm.
paleontologist.
Yes.
Paleo student.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, really good student, and hope it hope your dreams will come true. And yeah,
Yes, and I hope yours as well. If you're also pursuing it, if you're also pursuing paleontology. If yours.
yeah. Well, I mean, nowadays I just I mean I don't I've never been to college, but
Oh no.
no. I also heard that you don't have to go to college to become
Mm,
a paleontologist, but
mm. Well, yeah, I've heard, but I'd rather take the traditional route, just to
yeah.
be safe,
But
just to have credit.
everybody has their own opinions,
Mm,
but or decisions, but
mm,
yeah. But
mm,
you guys take care and
mm.
have a nice day, everyone.
Yes, you do the same.
Yeah.
Mm.
Catch you guys later.
Later.